on the growth and potential of NFTs. Sorry, I was very loud there for a second. I'll pull the mic away from me. My name is Jen. I'll be hosting the panel today. I'll do my intro after I let my wonderful guests intro themselves. We have Maddie, we have Mark, we have Kitty. Maddie, let's start with you. Why don't you intro yourself to our audience?
Sure, I'm Maddie Mo. If you Google the most famous artists, you'll find me next to Picasso, Warhol, and a whole bunch of silly other famous artists. And I'm running a company called Open3, which is helping bring like real utility to NFTs via brand partnerships with digital communities.
Hey everybody, my name is Kitty like a cat. I run NFT Girl Gang, so hello to all my Girl Gang baddies out there. I'm a designer. I've been a designer for 7 years for Disney, Facebook, and Sephora, and I created a blockchain solutions company about a year ago. Noticed that there's not enough women in the space, and selfishly wanted more girls to hang out with, along with bringing them up into the space, educating and empowering, and so that's where NFT Girl Gang came from.
Hey y'all, my name is Mark Patterson. I'm the co-founder of Real Items. We're on a mission to tokenize every single physical asset in the world. Mainly for circular economy, making these things accessible and useful for applications, services, reinventing the way we interact with physical stuff. So, serial entrepreneur, been in the space for about 4 years. Was a former pro gamer, played Halo back like 10 years ago. But yeah, it's great to be here. Great to be with these amazing panelists. Jen, amazing. Kitty, amazing. Maddie, you guys remember the monolith that appeared on the news way back, and everyone was like, where did this come from? That was this guy over here. It's really cool stuff. So, yeah.
And I'm Jen Sanasi. I'm the co-founder of Streambed Media. We are building an ecosystem to solve the licensing issue with NFTs. I also host a show every day called The Hash on CoinDesk TV. So let's get right into it. My co-founder said on stage yesterday that NFTs, as we know them today, will be worthless. And I wanted to get your responses to that. So Mark, let's start with you.
So that NFTs are going to be worthless?
As we know them today.
Who said that?
Jenna Pilgrim, co-founder of Streambed Media. I'll tell you a little bit more about why she said that. She said probably the top 2 to 5% of NFTs are going to kind of make it past the hype cycle that we're seeing now, and a lot of these projects are going to die out, and we're going to see that more utility come to NFTs. So how do you respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with startups, right? Like only like 5% of startups like really actually make it. Money is, we've reinvented money, and money wants to find new ways to create community, create connection, create meaning for people. In the NFT space, I mean, NFTs are going to be, more than just digital art, digital communities, digital access. But yeah, I mean, it's true. Like 5% of them will make it, but this is all part of the experiment, right? Life itself needs to discover like what sticks with people, what communities, how people can best identify with this new relationship that we can have with money. So yeah, I mean, she's not wrong, but they're not all going to be worthless. It's going to touch every single company that we see in the next 10, 20 years.
Is it your co-founder or your?
She's my co-founder.
Yeah. Was it because NFTs aren't actually on the blockchain, like the images aren't being hosted on the blockchain?
I think that's one issue that we can unpack now. I think a lot of people don't really understand, especially the people who are just getting into NFTs now, what they're actually owning when they get an NFT. And so Maddie, maybe you can talk us through that. What would you say to people who are getting into NFTs now?
Yeah, like people have this belief that NFTs are like on this immutable blockchain. But if you're using a centralized service like OpenSea, they have the capacity to remove the image file that they're hosting on their own servers, and you can still own the token, but the visual representation of that token disappears from the face of the internet. And so imagine, if you will, like a dire situation where a web server goes down. The NFTs hosted on that web server theoretically disappear unless they're written into code on the blockchain. So maybe your co-founder was alluding to this fact that like we're not as decentralized nor as immutable in the current instantiation of NFTs as we're being led to believe.
And do you think we'll achieve that decentralization anytime soon in the NFT space? As we get more and more mainstream, I feel like we're seeing more centralization.
Yeah, I don't think we are going to go all the way decentralized in NFTs, but NFTs do provide tremendous amounts of utility, and they also create a bridge between digital and physical worlds that is a true paradigm shift. So I'm really bullish on the technology. I'm not so bullish on like the centralized marketplaces controlling whether or not your NFT can be seen in your wallet, and this idea that like most of these things are being flipped and are cash grabs.
Yeah.
It's gonna be honestly very shocking when we see one of the, let's say a very popular NFT collection that 404s, right? Then people are gonna really wake up and be like, oh crap, like what's going on here? Like, is this actually decentralized? Because I feel at some point one of these big a big project, all their stuff's gonna get unpinned. It's just gonna go offline. Their images are gonna not be found. And to Maddie's point, I mean, it's just at that point there'll be more of a need for it. But a lot of that infrastructure is being built right now. From Arweave is being more like a permanent storage solution. There's a lot of amazing technology that's being built on Arweave. Coin Network specifically is doing some really cool stuff with making NFTs incredibly energy efficient across these different blockchains, utilizing Arweave's perma-storage network. So I think what comes out of the Arweave ecosystem is when we see more and more NFTs coming out of there, which is going to be starting more so now and going into the future, we're going to start seeing much more decentralized solutions that are incredibly energy efficient, incredibly fast, and even cheaper than using traditional centralized services.
Silly idea for a DAO, and then I'm going to let you get to your thing. Noah's Ark DAO, where we save all the animal profile pictures.
I love it.
Just throwing that out there.
Yes. I would add on to this too. Anybody getting into NFTs, a big thing we say is DYOR. So do your own research, look into these projects. So these NFT collections are similar to how companies work, and your NFT is now stock. And that token could get you access to other utility that's being added by that company if it's a good project. So Bored Apes, you get to the yacht party. Alien Friends, they created that whole project to make friends. I bought in, I'm down to make friends. Like, they keep adding more utility to these projects, so that's what's keeping the price up and giving people reason to hold on to the NFTs and decrease the supply so that cost will go up. And the community, if you band together, then you have the ability to figure out what that floor price is.
Yeah, Kitty, I mean, just hearing a little bit about your backstory, you've really embodied this aspect of community when it comes to NFTs. And when I think about NFTs, I think about it as, like the next version, the next iteration of social media. Tell us a little bit more about, transitioning from that mainstream brand world into NFTs and building those communities.
Yeah, the transition. I've been a digital designer for 7 years. I was valedictorian and advanced achiever from Full Sail University, and decided to be a digital designer for Disney before it was cool. And so I've been designing for these companies for a while, making really fun art, and when I saw NFTs, I was struck, like, this was an amazing way for artists to get credit and due and royalties, and the way that the code is built into NFTs, that's what I found fascinating. Then I started seeing these groups come about to add utility and reasons to own these NFTs, and it's it could be a concert ticket, it's an event ticket, it's a way to get, minting for new NFTs, like Nifty Castle is doing the DBs and the Witchy GF, and if you own a DB, then you can mint a new, NFT for free, and they're adding all these reasons to hold on to these NFTs. And I'm also noticing, community. And so with these NFTs, you get into the Discord, and it's all of a sudden all these crazy people that decided to buy this NFT too, and now you're all friends, and you can meet up and meet with people that are all interested in the same thing around the world. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Discord, and I've noticed that there are more and more scams happening in Discord. And while you were talking, I was thinking about the barriers to entry for NFTs, right? Like, I think everyone in this room and us up here on the stage, it feels very natural to us. We have a lot of people in our circles who can help us if we don't know how. But for people who don't come from the crypto world, there are a lot of barriers to entry to getting into NFTs, and there are a lot of scams that these people are falling victim to. Last night, I was at dinner with someone who's attending this conference, and he said, yeah, I bought an NFT, and then I gave my seed phrase away, and I learned the hard way that I shouldn't do that. And so I know we've been speaking about time and time again, education in this space. Maddie, how do we actually address education? We talk about it so much, and I feel like we keep saying the same thing over and over again, but it's not really resonating with the mainstream.
You want me to answer how we educate like the next 100 million people that are coming
Yes.
into the NFT space?
Yes.
Good luck.
Does anyone else want to take this one? It's tricky, right? Like even really savvy people that have been in technology for a while have given away their seed phrase or clicked on the wrong link. I think generally speaking, with great power comes great responsibility. And there are the basic things you can do. Just don't give away your seed phrase, one. Don't click on any links, ever. Shut down your Discord DMs unless absolutely necessary. Find communities of people who are actively communicating about scams going around. Never connect your wallet to a random smart contract. I mean, this is all pretty, it seems obvious, but like, they're understanding how malicious actors work will help save you from getting hacked. There's a great podcast called Darknet Diaries. Everyone should listen to that. It's about how hackers do hacky things. And if you understand how hackers do hacky things, you could be less susceptible to getting hacked. Oh, also hardware wallets. That's a good one.
Yay, hardware wallets.
And to be fair, like our own government gets phished all the time, and they fall for that. So, like,
Doesn't make it better.
so I mean, even like the most sophisticated people. So if anyone that's been phished before, maybe lost an NFT or cryptocurrency, like our own government gets phished. I mean, governments and foreign agencies. That's the way. Social engineering is how they get into whether it's even government agencies, hacking databases, all kinds of stuff, right? So you just don't trust any links that anyone sends you. Always question if it's like a new account that's sending it to you, or even if it's a friend that's like asking you for money, because often, I've had plenty of friends that have been hacked. So even if you may get a friend that is like, hey, like, I just like lost a bunch of ETH on this, and then they'll convince you to send them some ETH, and then the next thing you know, your friend's account got hacked. So even when it comes to like someone asking you for ETH, like a friend that comes from their account, you need to confirm that, hey, like, is this actually my friend? When it comes to money, when it comes to your crypto, always,
I want to be your friend if you're giving away ETH to friends.
Huh?
I want to be your friend if you're just giving away ETH to friends. Is that what you were saying? You've given away
No,
ETH
I was
to
saying
friends?
when friends come to you asking for ETH,
Do you give it away though? Or
well, I got to make sure it's my friend, right?
And then you give it
but if
away.
they are your friend, are you giving away ETH?
I always got to do a double check. I need a KYC. Like, all right, is this you here that's talking to me? Oh, okay, it is. All right, I need to see some video proof here.
All right, I'm sending you a friend request.
What's this? I need a safe word. What's our safe word? Oh shit.
All right, all right. Okay, so a lot of mainstream brands and mainstream artists and creators are getting into NFTs, and I really think that this is going to be the on-ramp to get this mainstream, non-crypto native audience into what we're talking about today. Kitty, we've seen, like Snoop Dogg, Paris Hilton, Samsung recently all getting into NFTs. With an outlook on the metaverse, talk to me about how you read these stories as a creator and where you think we're going.
Loaded question. First thing is look into what the project is. It's pretty easy to see if things are a cash grab. If someone's just trying to just release an NFT to make money, it happens. Good for that team. They're getting the bag. But for people buying into those projects, it is important to understand, what else is coming from this, similar to what we were speaking about before. And going into the metaverse, we can all geek out about this for days. There's so much capabilities in the metaverse. We've seen metaverse concerts and ways to, tokenomics of people now are getting money to attend these concerts in the metaverse. And it's a limitless place where you can still meet people all around the world, see your favorite musician, maybe go and be backstage in the metaverse. There's a lot of ways to do that, but I would just say look into the teams and how it's being built and what their roadmap is to be able to make this more than just that one initial sale.
But what do you think of brands getting into NFTs in the metaverse? What does that tell you about where brands are going?
It means NFTs will not be worthless.
Of course they won't, of course. They'll have different worths, I think, that we will uncover as we move forward, right? Did you raise your mic?
Yeah, I just hope this doesn't turn dystopian with all these brands coming in, wanting more control, like consumers, like the mass public not being educated on terms of like, a lot of people are coming in, they're assimilating with the culture, and the culture of crypto is going to change very quickly when we start having these big brands coming in, when we have the mainstream coming in. We have some of these like larger companies sort of like perhaps dictating in terms of the direction from the regulatory perspective. I mean, crypto still has a long way to go in terms of like properly formulating relationships with regulators, maybe bribing one or two, donating to a campaign here and there, starting a super PAC of like, because we're not represented in government very effectively right now. So I am concerned about how this could turn very dystopian, but I am also very optimistic for how protocols like Ethereum, very decentralized, very sort of like grassroots embodiment of like truly like we're all going to make it, can fight back against this sort of like worst case scenario for what these new digital playgrounds are going to evolve and turn into. And when it comes to NFTs and these amazing, all these celebrities are coming in, it's great. I do think it's their success and their fame, it doesn't necessarily translate one-to-one from the old world to this new world. It's a new dynamic, new culture. A lot of the tech isn't ready, and it requires even for their audiences a very like thorough and sophisticated understanding of getting a wallet, participating, sort of like dealing with maybe like a rug pull or two, right? Dealing with maybe like wallets not connecting, etc. So it's a different game for a lot of these celebrities to now like build a new audience and figure out how to rebrand themselves. This is they're starting from square one, right? I've seen lots of celebrities that have come in and their NFTs mint below mint price now, or sorry, they're selling for lower than mint price. So it's not exactly I'm super thankful that the cultures are starting to collide here. That they're starting to see this vision that we've been talking about and thinking about for many years. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be cool how crypto people and the old world can collaborate in terms of how we can reinvent culture, how can we reinvent their image, their brand to be more Web3, and ideally we can have the values of crypto ripple across the world, right, through these new networks that we're developing.
I think brands entering Web3 right now are extremely brave because you kind of lose some control. And brands are all about controlling the narrative and controlling the message. And in the memosphere that is Web3, you can lose control very quickly. So there's an opportunity for folks who understand digital communities to shepherd brands into Web3 in a way that makes them comfortable with this lack of control, but also opens up their eyes to the possibilities. There's going to be two types of brands in the future. There's Web2 brands, or like, let's call them ancient brands. And then there's Web3 brands that give some semblance of control back to the consumer, some share of ownership in the brand's direction, the brand's governance, the brand's economics back to the community. And that's what Web3 enables. And so, I mean, we're kind of like talking about, okay, what would it mean if an airline came into the Web3 space and sold NFTs that represented a new type of loyalty point system? And the realization was maybe these airlines don't want to do that, and maybe like a DAO forms to buy an airline, and then based on what percentage of the DAO's tokens you own, you get to decide what the flight routes are and decide what the pricing is as a community member and a co-owner of this business moving forward. So there's going to be this transition that's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of brands where they give up control, but in doing so, make their business models more sustainable and more equitable. And that's exciting for the consumer and it's exciting for the brands, but we've got to get in the heads of the CMOs and make them realize like how critically important this is to the success of their business moving forward. I'm extremely bullish on NFTs. I lived through the 2.0, Web 2.0 thing with Facebook, and I thought that those transitions those technology shifts were massive. This Web 3 thing is crazy. There's a Twitter account called Punk6529. We don't know who it is, but he or she has really like elegantly articulated the opportunity, which is we need 100 million people to come into the NFT space to make this thing work. And I think celebrities coming in and brands coming in is going to accelerate that, but there's a lot to learn. we're really like a year into the mainstreamization of NFTs, and so it's everyone's responsibility in this room to kind of help people understand, specifically people with real power, why we're making this transition, why it's important to empower community members, why it's important to create equitable relationships between all stakeholders. Yeah.
I've noticed that when brands enter the space, the crypto native community, they kind of just do like a collective eye roll. You know, you talk about that control and achieving decentralization, and these brands don't really want to give up control, and they probably will never actually achieve that decentralization. What would any of you say to, you know, the really die-hard crypto natives who are so reluctant to let the mainstream into the space, especially when it comes to NFTs?
Chill out.
Yeah, chill out, guys.
Like what Maddie's saying, you know, it brings in new audiences. It brings in more people into the space. And the more people we have, the quicker we can solve the problems. You know, I remember a year ago trying to figure out how to make a MetaMask. It took me like 2 hours to figure out how to get the money from one to the other. But if we have more audiences, more brands, more people working, it's solving solutions together. And then us, you know, helping to pioneer and lead these brands, like what you're doing with physical goods. You know, a luxury brand now could have the authenticity of their items linked to an NFT. So now if I buy, you know, a Prada bag, the authenticity is now linked to my NFT, and I can transfer that versus having to keep the little card that I always lose. So there's ways brands can use these NFTs in the Web3 movement in a positive direction. It's just letting them know those solutions exist.
So, I mean, I like personally when brands help push the culture forward in a way that resonates with the culture and isn't sort of trying to impose their own sort of subjective will on the culture. Like what one can see, you know, it's like when Facebook made the announcement of doing Libra, and then they changed their name to Meta. But when you look at how they tried to architect Libra, it's like they tried to create this almost like a Illuminati group of companies that are, you know, it helps them maintain their control and their dominance, but now in a decentralized way. And what we're seeing with people like Microsoft's doing a lot of really cool stuff with decentralized identities and helping even push the culture forward there with like truly thinking about, oh, let's do DIDs that can connect to different blockchains. That's not like a centrally controlled. Brands that it comes down to how they choose to push the culture forward, and I think that you know, depending on who we're telling to chill out, and maybe, you know, certainly a lot of irrational crypto people that see any brand and they'll be like, yo, yeah, chill the fuck out, like, don't be mean. But at the same time, there are brands that, you know, are trying to continue and impose their control on the space, and they want to utilize the advantages of crypto while maintaining their control and maintaining that dominance. I do think it's interesting to see the sort of the dynamics between those companies that otherwise, you know, and I wholeheartedly agree with Maddie on DAOs and how it can reinvent these companies to even be even more powerful and effective companies at their missions, depending on the business. But, you know, personally, when I look at someone like Mark Zuckerberg, I don't think that that's someone that is actually like has the greater good of humanity in mind when he's doing what he's doing. Yeah.
What do I got to do to get an applause after I say something?
There we go.
Whoa!
Okay, and now we just need a round of applause for Kitty as well. There we go. Are there any outstanding brand projects that any of you can think of that have really hit the nail on the head? I mean, there have been a lot of mediocre ones, but any amazing ones that stand out to you guys?
I think Snoop Dogg entering the space and like authentically collecting generative artworks and being like a major patron is a good signal for how celebrities can enter the space and use their influence and their resources to positively impact the digital communities that have sprung up around NFTs. Visa buying a punk was like a little bit of virtue signaling more than actually like contributing to the community. What's fascinating is we're seeing like brand-like projects, like Rug Radio, for example, 20-something thousand collectors of an NFT to build a decentralized media platform. And we saw Time magazine drop like a collection of NFTs that feels a lot like a cash grab. So it's like the brands ought to be taking cues from the successful projects that are more or less eating their lunch at this point, rather than, you know, half-assing it, if you will. You can clap for that.
I mean, celebrities and brands are entering the space. We see it all the time. I love Paris Hilton. I love how she's been pretty bullish on the crypto and in the digital space for a while. She's been creating NFTs and also bringing up other women. She did, with the Sevens Foundation, she did a female-led NFT to help women get in the space, which is pretty cool. And, you know, I remember the Clubhouse days, like, MC Hammer would come in, and we'd all be like, holy shit, like, he's in our chat. And you know, celebrities do come in, like, Steve Aoki will buy an NFT, and the price goes up. Like,
Yeah, but that's really kind of, like, irresponsible. Like, him shilling his NFTs on
weird.
stage
That was
with,
weird.
like, cardboard cutouts while he's
Yeah.
DJing. That, like, leaves a lot of people holding a bag at the end of the day.
if they believe in the project, I'm down, but it also creates a market where the price goes up and everybody else is buying at that price, and then it could dip. That's where it gets a little weird.
But all the conversations amongst like some of these more like let's call them DJ folks is about the price and about like how rare their NFT is, and that's all status signaling. It's all like cash grab oriented, and it's frankly irresponsible because they have a lot of influence over like regular consumers, and if regular consumers enter the market and get absolutely fucked, it's going to be bad for the growth of the space. And so
What is like the responsible place for them to be then?
you know, I think quietly accumulating bags that you want to profit off of is okay, and you can do that totally anonymously. But shilling the shit out of the next project, entering it early, selling it at the top, and then fucking all of your fans is a bad look.
You want to get in there, Mark?
I mean, I'll respectfully watch these two get into it, but yeah, I mean that again comes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like there are those that seek to impose the old world order in the NFT space and like game people and like, you know, trick them and make it a money grab and this and that. So that's like, you know, a lot of the old values versus, you know, making sure that these are our values, the crypto values, that we're all going to make it. Not I'm going to use you as exit liquidity. You know, that doesn't become like a sort of pervading behavior in the space. I mean, I would show us because I think we're pretty great, but I think more specifically, Kong is probably one of my favorite projects. They're, you know, Kong.land and Kong.cash. They're one of our partners, but they're doing some super cool stuff with semiconductors. So they've created these semiconductors that connect to a smart contract, generate their own key pairs. They do some elliptic curve cryptography to validate and authenticate an NFT or an ERC20 that can be connected to it. So they've actually created physical crypto cash. So you can have cash that is crypto, and you can authenticate it with your phone and validate that it's connected to a smart contract, that there's real cryptocurrency connected to this. And if you were to pay me in Kong Cash, I would accept it because it's just as good as crypto. And they do the same thing with NFTs. So we can take, you know, for some high value items, we can take these semiconductors, add them to like a jacket, add them to a passport, like a card, and use it. And in the case of Kongland, they're using this as citizenship to their DAO, as citizenship to what they're calling their cloud country, Kongland. So they're, you know, exporting these chips, much like Intel as a company would export chips, and they're using the funds that they generate from sort of creating this DAO of DAOs. They're exporting these chips, getting more people to make crypto physical, and then using those funds to then buy land to create their own country.
How many Kongs do you own?
Huh?
How many of those do you own?
How many what?
Of that project do you own?
Do I own?
Yeah.
I just own like one citizenship.
Okay.
I'm being dead honest. You want to see my wallet?
You know, we've talked a lot about like celebrities and speculative projects, but what we haven't talked about is like the cheap NFTs that get you access to digital communities that are actually interesting. And so I'll shill a few right now that I actually think are valuable, like CPG Club. is incredibly expensive now, but it was started by a dude called Chris who sold a D2C brand and invited in a bunch of mentors and gave them NFTs, and all those mentors got to invite people in, and now that community is sharing like tremendous alpha with each other and driving forward like a productive conversation around NFTs. Or there's Developer DAO for like 0.1 ETH, you can get into a community of many thousands of Web3 developers, and that NFT isn't like running up because it's not an animal, but like it's actually genuinely valuable to be in that community. So there are NFT projects out there that represent access tokens into incredible conversations. And those are the types of NFTs that are actually interesting to me at this point. Like, I could give a fuck about which animal I've got in my wallet. I want to learn things. And that's what NFTs offer, is they offer you to put skin in the game, to get access, or proof of funds, to get access to interesting communities. And what's cool is if you don't like that conversation or that community, you can leave and you can sell your NFT and get out. So it's almost like a membership to the Soho House where you're not paying an annual membership, but you're providing proof of funds, and then when you've decided you're no longer interested, you sell that NFT to the next person so they can get value out of that conversation. So that's where I think like NFTs are most interesting, not in shilling my panda on stage at EDC.
You know, we'll wait for the applause. That brings me back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation. You know, NFTs really creating communities and being the next version of social media where communities who believe in the same things can gather around these NFTs they buy, and they don't have to be expensive. They just grant them access to the things that these people love. And so when I think about social media and I think about the ethos of crypto, I think about censorship. Like, this is a conversation that we've had a lot about social media. It's like the backbone of Bitcoin. And I don't know if anyone on this panel will have an answer right now, but maybe if it's something to think about. Do we need to think about censorship when it comes to NFTs and the communities that are building around these NFTs?
Well, OpenSea is censoring projects all the time.
Right.
They've shut down my projects. They shut down a project called Funks, which is great art, which is just punks flipped facing the other way. It's kind of genius. Not larvalabs.com is where you could find Funks. I think that's like in the Duchampian sense of art, like that's pretty good. Like it's ready-made, it's funny. Yeah, I think that OpenSea, if a DMCA letter gets sent to OpenSea, they take down the collection without question. And then you as the artist or the creator have to send a counter letter saying that you don't believe that this DMCA was appropriate. And that's like kind of a broken system because like I could just start sending DMCAs from like seemingly authentic email addresses to OpenSea and take down a whole bunch of projects if I was a malicious actor. And there's not a huge team over at OpenSea like validating whether or not these DMCAs are authentic. So that's speculation. That's not like, I'm not saying that you should do that, nor is that factual. That's just like kind of like an observation. But look, like we're early. I'll leave it at that. We're early in the game, and there is censorship right now, but we'll eventually have tools that allow us to kind of do whatever we want on the internet, which is kind of fun.
How would you fix the problem of artists actually having to work, like in terms of building a better system?
Yeah, I think everything should be Creative Commons on the internet. I think this idea that like you own some semblance of the rights to an image if you buy the NFT project, or you don't own any rights is kind of like an antiquated model. We should live in a world of abundance. You create something, you monetize it, and then it's out there. Like,
have you had your IP stolen before and monetized?
Have I what?
I said, have you had things that you've created stolen from you?
Yeah, I made my project Creative Commons. People can rip my shit off all day long. I don't care. The most famous artist is Creative Commons. You can do whatever you want with the brand. You could get it tattooed on your forehead. I don't care.
So I respect, for a lot of things being Creative Commons, absolutely. I mean, at least for like how this business started, you know, our founder, he dealt with intellectual property theft, but by Chinese counterfeiters that took his product. He invented the, LED sunglasses, the LED glasses at raves, at like Insomniac, these music festivals, and he was selling them. Being in America, manufacturing costs are pretty high. But then Alibaba vendors counterfeited his products and then undercut him like 10x, and he literally couldn't compete and drove him out of business, killed his company.
It goes down to the value structure
people.
of the consumer. Like, does the consumer care about the authentic good, or are they willing to buy a derivative, a fake? And like, for me, I would rather go to Shenzhen and buy fake Yeezys than wait in a line. Like, there's some things that I think are valuable that I want the authentic thing. And what's cool about NFTs, if you're an informed consumer, you can buy the authentic thing, but you should also be able to buy the derivative. Who cares?
I mean, I almost think that shouldn't it be so? Isn't that are you not taking away the choice of the person that creates the thing? Are you not taking
the whole
their
idea
own
is
rights
anybody
away from,
creating
like,
anything should
forcing it to be Creative Commons, right? Because what if someone wants the choice of whether it's I think people should have a choice as to whether they want their creation to be Creative Commons or protected and to be monetized. I don't think we should
authoritarian
impose,
capitalism.
I'm saying that people should have a choice. Like I wholeheartedly agree with you that like a lot of creativity comes from people stealing ideas and remixing those ideas. So like I'm in the same camp as you in terms of like that's why Apple is such a great company. They stole from Xerox. They brought the graphical user interface to everybody, right? Through the Macintosh, and then Microsoft ripped from them, and so the creativity is from like remixing and stealing, and good artists copy, great artists steal. But I do think that to some extent, like IP holders should have some sort of a choice as to how they want their intellectual property.
Well, they can mint NFTs, and educated consumers can buy authentic NFTs, or they could buy the derivative. And the authentic NFT will have certain rights with it, and the derivative will also have other rights. And so I just feel like, as a creator, I've created a lot of shit, and when I give it away, more creativity comes to me. There's a book called The Gift, and The Gift is this idea that creativity is a gift from this divine source, and it's only given to you if you give it away. And if we all live in a world of abundance instead of a world of like, I own the trademark, or I own this or that, everyone has the foundational elements to build even more cool stuff. Like Elon Musk giving away his battery tech makes it so EV can move faster, which is good for humanity.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm like just adamantly not interested in this idea that someone owns something and they're stifling innovation as a result of owning it. And if I want fake Yeezys, I'm gonna buy fake Yeezys.
Maddie, I think Elon Musk giving away his tech, taking that and comparing it to an independent creator making a living off of their creation is a little bit far-fetched. I think there are a lot of people who are making money from their IP online, and that's how they make a living.
Tesla doesn't open source their entire company. They open source the battery tech. So there's still secrets and things that are proprietary, right? So there's elements of this should be open source. It's for the greater good. Like absolutely, it's nuanced. It's not like everything should be open source, or life is very nuanced.
Yeah, I think we agree there. Maddie?
I don't know. Every transaction is recorded on the blockchain. It's all transparent. So if you can't live in a world where like everything is open source, then you're probably not going to make it in Web3.
Well, on that note, I think we should wrap up this panel. Kitty, Kitty, I'm going to give you the last word.
Oh, okay. So this is exciting. So if you've been downstairs in the conference area, we partnered with Radical, and they are giving away prizes to artists who participated. We curated 30 artists from around the world, artists that aren't super well known, artists that are really happy to be showing their work, and we're giving away $15,000. So we have checks here. First prize is $7,500, second prize is $5,000, and third prize is $2,500. And I'm going to read who won now. Camille, wait, no, hold on. Yeah, Camille from Mexico City wins $7,500. Camille, are you here? Congratulations. Run, a female artist from Iran, wins $5,000 with 1,434 votes. And Fink an artist who was living in Bali but now lives in Dubai wins the $2,500 with 940 votes. So that's really cool that Radical was able to give away money to artists who could definitely use it, and would like to thank them and congratulate all the artists who participated.
Thank you, Radical. Awesome. Congratulations to all the artists.